What is going on, fitness coaches? Welcome to another episode of the Change Lives Make Money on the Trainer podcast. It's your boy, B Mark. And in today's episode, I'm interviewing one of my 10K mastermind clients, and her name is Simone Rampf. Now, I'm really excited to bring on Simone to the podcast because Simone and I have been working together for now the last 3 years. She's been getting mentored by myself, Cole, and the other PT Domination coaches. And in the last 30 days, she had a big glow up and big breakthrough. And she went from 4,000 followers to 29.8 thousand followers in 1 month. And in that month, she also made $23.8 thousand. So I'm super excited. Welcome to the podcast, Simone. How's your day going?
Thanks. It's going good. It's going really good.
Good. Cool. Are you excited for the podcast?
I am a little nervous, but I'm excited.
Nervous is good. Nervous is good. So why don't we start from the
Yeah.
beginning, Simone? Let's take it back to when you first got started online coaching. I want to talk a little bit about your journey when you first started in the academy, because if people were to go to your social media right now, it looks like you've always had your mindset together and you've always been successful. So talk to me about the beginning on getting started with your coaching business.
So I actually got started during the pandemic. Before I was just doing like classes. I started out as a yoga teacher.
Yep.
And so I actually was in your first 20 clients course in 2020 for a long time, just for a little bit. And then I kind of stopped online coaching because I thought, well, that's not for me. I can't do this. I'm not going to be as good as other people. But I've never really stopped listening to your podcast.
Mm.
And I've hired a couple of other business coaches and, wasn't really great. So I still followed the podcast. And then in 2021, I think, December, yeah, I rejoined the academy.
Mm.
And I had a really good first month, actually. I made the whole year back in that month,
Mm.
but I didn't have that mindset. It was it was crippling me. I didn't know what to do with it,
Mm.
with being good at it and being successful.
Mm.
And so, yeah, then I dipped down again and got better and better here and there. And yeah, then last year I joined the 10K.
Mm. So I wanna talk a little bit about, so the academy is really interesting because I think that there's a lot of people. First of all, common trend in the last 3 episodes, every one of them is like, other mentors suck. So just saying, okay, it's not just me that says that, it's my clients. Just saying. That's just a funny joke. So that's first thing. Second thing is, in the academy, when you were there, you said that you mentioned that you struggled with being successful and feeling the success, and you said it was crippling you. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because I think that there's a lot of trainers right now that need to hear what you're about to say.
Yeah. So I think that, when you come from a background like me, I didn't grow up with a lot of money. My mom was a single mom, and we had we had a roof over our head and everything, but never really gotten further than paycheck to paycheck, and always struggling, not being able to do stuff at school that other kids are doing. And so that was very unfamiliar to me to
Mm.
do better.
Mm.
And so that was a very scary place. But
Mm.
at the same time, I feel like one of the things that has really helped me, not because then it would have been easy to give up,
Mhm.
right? Because it doesn't work for me, and this doesn't feel good. But one of the things that has really helped me throughout this whole time was that someone else was also believing in me. And so kind of borrowing that belief
Mhm.
and then keeping going and implementing the things and getting better and slowly changing that mindset a little bit, which I'm probably going to have to work on that my whole life, which is
Yep.
fine. But
The good news is that all of us do.
yeah, yeah,
And it's almost
totally.
it's
Yeah,
almost
that's
like when we're working, this is the thing, right? This is why people don't understand how much of a mindset game it truly is. And I say this 100
yeah,
times, I'm gonna say it again. If you don't have your mindset unlocked, everything else fails. Because it's almost like, I come from a background where I struggle financially too. I'm pretty open about it. I used to live in my grandma's trailer on our couch. When I grew up, it was the same thing. We were getting evicted every 6 months because my parents couldn't afford rent. I went to 6 different elementary schools because we just were moving house to house to house. So I understand that mindset because that was me as well. And when I first got started in entrepreneurship, I really struggled because it was more comfortable and normal for me to feel like shit wasn't working. Like it was more comfortable and normal for me to feel like I was broke. It was more comfortable and normal for me to self-sabotage because that's what my entire life was. My entire life, I was self-sabotaging. I wasn't a winner. I wasn't this person that was like making money. I was living in a trailer park. I was struggling with a drug addiction. Like that was my whole life. So I understand that. And I think that one of the things that really shifted in you in the academy is that you started to believe in yourself. Whereas before, like you didn't believe in yourself. And you've been on I don't know how many episodes of podcasts now. Like we've had lots of talks about this. There was one episode of podcasts where I literally made Simone, she was like, she felt defeated. So I literally made her go like in the academy every day, starting the day by screaming at the top of her lungs, I'm a winner. So there's a lot of mindset work that you've done. You didn't believe in yourself before. You do believe in yourself now. So I'm curious for the people that are listening to this, what changed?
So I'm a big proof person. I need to see proof. I need to feel proof. If I don't see it, if I don't have it, then it's hard for me to actually believe it.
Mm,
And so, in this whole time, yes, I've done okay, but never like to this point.
mm,
And it's always been like this, like you say, like it's easier to self-sabotage and like go back to your old ways and just live paycheck and because that's what you're familiar with.
mm,
But this before this whole time, like I said, borrowing the belief, especially from you and Cole,
mm,
has helped me keep going so that because I deep down I knew like at some point it's going to come. I just have to like keep going
mm,
and get better and refine and like get feedback from you guys. But I think a really pivotal moment for me was a conversation I had with Maya on I think she did one of the trainings in the 10K like 2 months ago or 6 ago, something like that.
That's cool. I'm happy.
Um,
I'm gonna send her this podcast afterwards. Go ahead.
Yeah. So she it wasn't really like this huge conversation, but it was more so about my content because I was really scared of like showing up as the person that I actually am. I'm not like this smiley 3 tips, right? This was
Mm,
like something that I did like 1,000 takes for every video and I was sick of it and I struggled with it. And she was like, well, why don't you just show up as yourself? Why don't you just, believe that the person that you are is enough and you can do it and it's fine. And I asked her, like, well, that's going to be, I don't necessarily know how to do that because then you have to practice being yourself and showing
mm,
up as yourself. And so after we had that conversation, I started to practice that.
mm,
And now I feel like I'm still having to like work on that, but I've gotten better at it, if that makes
mm,
sense. So
mhm,
that conversation was like really pivotal, I feel like,
mm,
in the moment of, okay, you can believe in yourself too. And now I have the proof that I can actually do it. So
mm.
now it's easier to me.
It's so cool because I want to touch on a couple of things. Number one is I feel like that's the biggest thing that Cole and I can do for our students is believe in them because a lot of our students don't believe in themselves. And I'm a big believer in boring belief as well, Simone. Like when I hire a mentor, I always hire a mentor that's more advanced than me, and then I borrow their belief in me because it's like I'm like I also want to touch on three things. So the second thing I want to touch on is you said something. You said I always knew deep down that I was going to be successful. That mindset, everybody needs to write that down. I always know deep down that I'm going to be successful. You need to keep that because that mindset gives you a sense of hope. If you honestly believe it will happen for me, I am like it like if I just keep going, if I just keep showing up for these coaching calls, if I just keep asking questions, it will happen for me. I promise you it will happen for you. And I think that a lot of people lose that sense of hope when the results that they're experiencing in the moment right now are not matching what they believe that they deserve. And so they'll be like, "Oh, like it's not working out for me," but they lose that faith, they lose that hope, but you never lost that hope, which I think is cool. And the third thing is that it's really cool that a conversation with Mariah is what transformed and changed everything for you because that's the community of PT domination. So it's not just Cole and I. We have other coaches in the ecosystem that are also contributing to the growth. So that's really, really cool. There was one call specifically, Simone, where you came into a pod chats and you were asking me about a 40-day challenge. And I told you exactly what to do with the 40-day challenge. You went out, you did it. And then 1 week later, when you came back to pod chats, your Instagram following had grown by 10,000 and I think you'd made a bunch of money in that week as well. What changed? Like after that conversation with me and you, what changed? Like what was the shift in one conversation on pod chats, and then literally the next coaching call, you had like 5 times the Instagram followers. I was like, what the fuck just happened? So like, what changed in that week? What was it?
So I think, we did the content challenge in with Patrick, and just, of course, like the content course has helped a ton,
Mm,
and getting that started. But then, when you implement the content course, you also have to get feedback on the things that you're doing. And so I realized that there's one sentence that I say in the beginning, and you said it and Patrick said it as well, to keep saying that sentence.
mhm,
And that's just what I did. Like that's what I start out with pretty much every video
mhm,
now. And all of those they do well. And people liked it. Of course, I got a lot of hate, but I'm already used to the hate from TikTok. So I'm
mhm.
fine. But, I invite that hate now because I'm like, sure, like bring me more people.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah,
fine.
yeah.
And so, yeah, I think it's just, seeing what has worked and then doubling down on that.
I love that. And that's I agree. You have to bring in the hate. And it's funny because I guarantee you what's going to happen is after this podcast, people are going to go to your Instagram and they're going to try to use your line. And here's the thing, you guys, Simone's line isn't going to work for you. And the reason it's not going to work for you is because all of us have a different energy, have a different attitude, have a different flow. And if you try to take your fucking flow and use Simone's line, it ain't actually your flow. And so it's not going to work as well. And so what worked for Simone was figuring out, like she said, practicing, putting herself out there and being herself on social media. Then as she did this, she said this one thing, that one thing hit, and then she was able to double down on that thing. So I think it's really important because I know for a fact after this podcast, people are going to go to your Instagram. They're going to be like, what's the line? And then they're going to be like, I'm going to use a line. And then it's not going to work. And I'm like, what the fuck? And it's because it's not you. So you need to find your line. You need to find your line. And you grew like really fast. Like it was like once me and you had that conversation, you came back to pod chats, your Instagram following had like quadrupled. And I was like, what the fuck? And then beyond that, like it's been like 4 weeks, 5 weeks since that conversation. And now you're at 29.8 thousand followers on Instagram, which literally seems crazy to most people because they're like, how did you grow by 30,000 followers in literally less than, it was like 6 weeks. So, and I think that this is conversation is all about like the bamboo tree. So for those of you guys that have heard me talk about this, if you don't know how bamboo trees grow, basically what happens is you're watering the plant for literally 5 years, and the bamboo tree doesn't actually sprout out of the ground until the 5th year. But in the 5th year, what happens in the bamboo tree is it sprouts up 100 feet. And so everybody listening to this podcast is watering their bamboo tree. And so many people give up before it actually breaks ground and sprouts to 100 feet, but you didn't. So my question for you, because you worked in this for 3 years, it was like December 2021 was when you got back into the academy. And then you were working on your business for 3 years. What's your message to people who feel like giving up because right now it's just not working?
One thing that I always ask myself, and I'm still asking myself this because some days, I don't feel like showing up. Some days, like I feel like shit and I don't want to do it. But what is the alternative? And for me, there's no alternative.
Mm,
Like it just has to work.
mm. So you just like you refuse to quit because this is the only option.
Yeah, it is. Like that's plan A, and that's going to be plan A for, for until I don't want it to be plan A anymore. And yeah, there's no plan B because I literally wouldn't know what else to do. Like, I don't want to go back to waitressing, not happening. And I also, need to live. So,
Yeah.
like,
So when
it
you
has
feel
to.
like quitting on those days that you want to give up, that you don't want to show up, that it's fucking hard, what do you do to get yourself to show up?
I just do it. Like, there's no magic trick or anything. I just do it. But also, like, I feel like having a really knowing why you're doing it and not just because I want to be successful.
Mm,
Like I live with my grandparents here, and we live here because we've actually just celebrated my grandpa's 80th birthday today.
mm.
And
That's
he's
cool.
got a little bit of dementia,
Mm,
and not bad yet, but like there's going to be a time where they have to be taken care of, and
mhm,
I want to be that person because they've been basically raising me.
mm,
And so that's something that's very close to my heart. But then also, if I ever have children, I never want them to grow up like I had to grow up, like telling their friends no
mm,
to, if they want to do anything, or they can't because their mom can't afford it. Like I'd rather not have children then.
Mm,
And that can be, if all of this is avoidable, that I can't help my grandparents, or I can't have kids because of something stupid like this,
mm,
then I need to keep
mm.
going.
So like you literally just show up and you put in the work. And I agree. So I have the same mindset that you do. You're also my client, so you probably think the same way I think. Like I'm just gonna fucking do it. Like I don't care if I want to. I don't care if I feel like it. I don't care if I'm motivated. I don't care if I'm overwhelmed. I don't care if I'm stressed out. The work's gonna get done. And I love that you attach. Like I think the reason that you're able to do that is you attached a really strong emotional pull to it. Like the fact that you want to be your grandparents' retirement plan is really fucking cool. I value that a lot.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's really cool. And happy 80th birthday to your grandpa. That's awesome.
He's in bed already. He
Yeah,
went to
that's
bed at
awesome.
5.
That's awesome. So, a question that I just thought about that I actually didn't write down, but I want to ask you because you always show up to coaching calls and you've always done that in the academy. And now you're doing that in the 10K mastermind. You always show up to coaching calls. And if every single student had the same mindset as you, is I'm going to show up for the fucking program that I'm paying for, every single student would be able to get results like you have. So why do you always show up? What's your mindset around showing up? Why is it a priority for you? Talk to me about how you view the coaching program.
For me, it's not necessarily, yes, the information is great, like, right? It's helping. But for me, it's more so about the energy. Like
Mm,
sometimes now I can't show up later at night because I'm like, I need to go to bed.
mm.
And, after the calls, I'm like, let's go. And so that's not a bedtime energy. But you know, there are calls where like I look at the calendar and I'm like, this is the calls that I want to go to because I either, it's the coach or the topic or whatever. But for me, it's really soaking up the energy, even though we're not in the same room, but you can still get it like through Zoom and through the coaching calls. And that's really what's helped me most at 10K. Yes, the course is amazing. And the content course, like if there's people listening that are in the 10K and you're not doing the content course, or baked. But it's more so about the energy, like the environment, the people that, like, if you see every single coaching call, people that are doing so well and you're not at that level, it's like, it pissed me the fuck off.
Mm,
I didn't want it. Right. So for me, it's more so the community, the energy, everyone that is in the program.
mm.
And you can take inspiration from them. You can learn from everyone. And yeah.
That's cool. I love that. That's a great fucking answer. So you did CLA for 2 years, well, a year and a half almost. And now you've been in the 10K mastermind and you just renewed for your second year in the 10K mastermind. What are your honest thoughts on the 10K mastermind program versus the CLA? Like, why didn't you just stay in the CLA? Are you happy you upgraded to the 10K?
I am, well, I would have resigned for a whole year if I didn't. But the CLA is great. Like, but it's like I said, it's that next level, and the energy there is different. Like you're getting held to a different standard.
Mm,
And just like with the belief, sometimes you need other people holding you to a different standard. Like you see other people succeeding and like doing so much better than you. And that's inspiring. And that's like, at the same inspiring, but also at the same time, like,
triggering.
um, happening that you're not there. Right.
Mhm.
So you want to step it up too.
Mm. Yeah, I agree. And I think that that's actually a big reason that people don't join is because they're like, oh, like seeing all these big numbers intimidates me. That's the point. Like that's literally the point. It's supposed to intimidate you. It's supposed to trigger you.
Yeah.
And so many people
Yeah.
avoid those feelings because they're like, oh, I just want to fucking be like happy dappy with my life. But then they get complacent, they get comfortable, their business goes downhill. Like you can't do that.
Yeah, totally. And I think that's something I said when I said that to you, I think when I joined the 10K, because I was like, I probably was the smallest fish in there.
Yeah.
And you still let me in. And I think I said something like, I'm doing well with pressure usually.
Mhm.
And I feel like if you want to have your own business, if you want to be an online coach, you need to do well with pressure. If you don't want to have pressure, you got to work for someone else.
Mhm. I agree. So if you could go back to baby Simone, like Simone when she first started this online coaching business, and you could give her one piece of advice, what would it be?
Believe in yourself more and do the things you need to do. Like
Mm,
do the things you would do if you believed in yourself.
mm. I love that. And I actually don't have this question written down, but I want to ask you because your content is fucking crushing it. Can you tell me a little bit about your content creation process? Like, what do you do specifically for your process? Like, how do you come up with video ideas? How do you script your videos? What are you thinking about when you're filming? Like, talk to me about your whole content creation idea.
So that's actually funny that you asked that because I now have to find a gym that I have to now rent a gym that I actually can film at.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a little bit. But usually I found what works now for me, which is filming exercises and telling people what they're doing wrong.
Yeah.
But now I get my ideas mostly from my clients' form assessments
Yeah.
and or the Typeform applications, challenges that I've done before. And so then I just sit down and I write. I start with the line that I have that I always start out with, and
Mhm.
I just write what I come up with.
Mhm.
And then I go back again and like read through it to like filter out any shit that doesn't need to be in there. So it's not 5 minutes long.
Mhm.
And then I go to the gym with my tripod and my iPhone and I film myself and then I edit it.
So I just want to make this super clear. With content mastery, feedback on your content, all you've done to grow by 25,000 followers is film with your iPhone and a tripod.
Yeah. I
Just
actually had my partner film me at first, but it didn't do so well. So I went back to the tripod.
iPhone and tripod. So anybody listening to this right now that's like, I don't have a professional videographer. I need to wait until I have the money to afford to blah, 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 blah. You have a fucking phone and you're listening to this on your phone. This is your sign that all you need is a phone to get started. I loved this podcast. It was so good. There's so many people that are going to get so much value from this. What is your Instagram handle so my audience can follow you?
Shaped_ by Simone.
Shaped_ by Simone. And last question I'll have to ask you is if somebody's in the CLA right now, or they're outside of the 10K mastermind and they're thinking about investing in the 10K mastermind, what would your message to them be?
Do it. Like you're not gonna regret it because you're gonna go in there and you're gonna be able to soak up all of the energy. You're gonna do the actions because you're gonna be pushed to do the actions that you need to be successful. And so if you want to get to the next level, you have to invest into yourself.
Mm, I love it. Simone, you're the best. Thank you so much for coming on today. I hope you have the best day of your entire life.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode. Hopefully you got some value. If you did, and you want to learn more about how me and my team can help you scale your online fitness business to $10,000 a month, DM me 10K on Instagram at @TheRealBrianMark for more information, and I'll reach out to you to see if I can help you grow an online coaching business.